advantage, okay? All right, let me get into the data with you. So when we talk about data, now this is just for what we call the 3 counties. Now some of you might be looking at other counties somewhere else, and that's fine. Just follow the same protocol. There's some key points you got to look at. You don't need all this other stuff, but why do we do the research? Why do we do the research? That's exactly right, to help manage risk, right? You're walking into a market blindly and you're going, oh, well, they told me to invest here. This is why I'm here. Well, the problem, let me explain something to you. Where are the people that told you to do that, where are they when the deal goes south? They're not there anymore, right? It is your fiduciary responsibility to take the information given to you, absorb it, and then go do your own research. Make sense? Say yes? That's the biggest thing I can tell you here today, is that you have to become a research addict, okay? Listen, I lay awake at night with a computer researching data, give me more data, right? And it's because I know one thing about real estate. How much of your money can you lose? All of it. You can lose every last dollar of it. Look, I'm going to just shoot you straight, right? This isn't cupcakes, rainbows, and unicorns. This is hard, consistent effort and work, and it's risky, but we can mitigate risk. And we do that through research, we do that through systems, and we do that through process, right? So, and the other reason is because we want to know what's happening before everybody else does. How many of you understand this when I say, if the media is telling you to sell your property, you're too late. You're absolutely too late. You're 1,000% too late. So if you know that, then if we can do the research, we can already start to find the markets that are already going red, so we know what? We know to get out of those markets, right? We're like, okay, it's moving down, let me get out so that somebody else can come in and buy it before now they all know it. I'll give you an example. I've been doing this over 2 decades. I made it through the 2006, 7, 8 crash. And you know what I remember seeing more than anything was everybody was in denial when the market was turning. And then one day you walked out of your house and what did you see on your street? 50 houses for sale. Were they all too late? They were too late. Every one of them were too late, right? I made it out of Las Vegas following this type of data. I made it out of Boise, Idaho following this data. I made it out of California following this data. I made it out of Tampa, Orlando following this data. I made it out before the market shifted and all the foreclosures happened. And it's not because I'm special and I have a crystal ball. It's because of why? I just do research. I hear what people are telling me, but what do I do when everybody else is sleeping? I'm researching. I am in control of my money. You know what I'm more in control of than anything is making sure my private investors don't lose their money. How many of you understand what I just said right there? Right? That's the most important reason that I do so much research. I have millions and millions of dollars that are entrusted in me by people who invest in me because they understand I'm going to go out and make good decisions. Now, what happens when you lose that? Now you're in big trouble, right? And so everybody wants private money, but they don't understand. You're taking on somebody's retirement. You're taking on somebody's retirement. And you're going to go out there and just put it out there because, no offense, but an agent says, oh, buy this house, right? Well, no. Why am I buying it? What's the risk in it? What's the outcome? What's the affordability index? What margins am I inside of, right? So the key is to understand this. These are the things we look for. We're looking for quantity sold, volume sold, average sales, active, quantity active, inventory, and accumulated days on market. Don't be fooled by days on market, okay? Who knows the difference in that? Yeah, because what will happen is they'll play tricks with you, right? They'll list it. It'll be on for like 4 months, and then they'll go, oh, you know what, I'm going to change agents. And then what happens what? Then now it's a new days on market all of a sudden, and so we need a cumulative days on market, right? So let's dig into some of the data. Limestone County. Take a picture, guys. I know you guys want to. Let me take it before I start putting all the arrows and everything up here, and you won't be able to see the data, okay? So one thing that you'll learn about me is my data on these charts, they go all the way back 14 years. since I've been in this market. That's how long they go back. Do you think I can see what this market has done? So I'm telling you, if you're not doing it, start today and do it every single year. And then it just stacks up and it builds, and you can go back and look at it over time and you can see. For example, if you take, so here's the points that we pull: sold, volume sold, average sales price, quantity active on the MLS, which just means what's listed, right? Average days on market, and available inventory, which is a huge number you need to pay attention to, okay? So if you go into January 2021, you look at solds, what happened? Well, if you'd have saw 2020 and then 2021, you'd have seen a spike. Well, then 2022, it dropped off. 2023, everybody thought the market had crashed. You see that across the top? 103, like, the market's crashing, right? But what they weren't looking at was what? The average sales price was doing what? It was still going up, and it was going up because of why? The demand, that's right. And then you look at 2024, and then you look at March. We just had a huge bump, right? But here's what you need to pay attention to more than anything, is look at the available inventory over the last 4 years. What's happened? Huge. And also look at actives. What's happened? It's going up too. Let me help you understand why I'm bringing this out to you. Available inventory, okay? The national average, when we call it a stable market, is 4 months. It's 4 months. When you're below 4 months, it's what? It's a seller's market. When you get over 4 months, you're in a what? A buyer's market. What's going on in Limestone right now? Ooh, man. And look, and if that days on market starts creeping up, those are the two indicators. If the available inventory keeps going up and the DOM keeps going up, what do we all of a sudden know as investors? People are rushing to sell. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go from direct mail, or am I going to go to where? Man, I'm going to start making offers on every property that's on the MLS. I'm just going to start making offers on every single property that hits the MLS, because they're going to start going, what? Look, it's already happening. Look what happened from January to March. What happened? Prices go down. Guys, these are the indicators. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. When you've got inventory going up, actives going up, and you've got sales going down, and you've got average prices always going to follow going down. You follow me on this? It's not a magic ball. It's not like, oh, no, it's okay. No, you can go back year after year after year after year, and guess what? It's all the same. It's just you guys have to put the time in to do what? Research it. You just have to research it. And here's what I'm going to tell you, one of my greatest mentors ever taught me. Zach, don't question the data. Question people. Trust the data, right? Because here's what will happen. Who will tell me that this market is an amazing market? Someone trying to what? Sell me a house. Right? Oh, it's amazing. Well, that neighborhood may be amazing, right? But because why? This is county data. Now, this is just one layer we do. This is county. And then we take county and we go what? Down to the neighborhood, right? And so there's ways to do that through clustering and zip code matrices, and I'm not going to get into all that tonight. But if you look at the data points, we've only got 2 red indicators in January, which is not bad. So I still trust Limestone. How many of you do stocks and trades? And how many of you? Okay, so you know about the 3 red indicators, right, Mario? Well, guess what? Real estate is simply almost like day trading when you pull data. You can track the red indicators, okay? So know that. Let's talk about Morgan County. Same thing. We've got 21, 22, 23, 24. What's the first things you guys start to see? Just yell it out if you see it. What is it? Sold houses, right? You come out of 21, we had a spike in Morgan County. 22, we had another spike. 23, everybody thought what? The market had tanked. But what they failed to realize is yeah, prices went down, but why? Because inventory what? Doubled. And so you got to take these into consideration. So when I see inventory doubled for Morgan County, I now got to go look at what? Days on market. Is there still a demand for it? If inventory doubles and days on market goes up, then I know what? Say it again, Evan. The demand's not there. So those are indicators I got to watch. But what am I more concerned about than anything? Available inventory. Even though it's still under 4 months, but is it starting to creep up a little bit? Yeah, so I'm going to keep my eye on Morgan County for that. What's the other thing I'm going to keep my eye on? Look at that. So is the demand starting to slow down? Yeah, it's starting to slow down. But what else have we noticed? The inventory, right? The inventory is increasing. The demand is slowing down. So inevitably, if I had a crystal ball, I would say to you guys, watch Morgan County as a county whole and prices are going to come down. They will. It's inevitable. So why am I sharing this with you? I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm going to bring a panel up to try to help lift you guys back up again, okay? I don't know. We got the banker coming. He'll probably give you some bad news. But I'm sharing this with you because I want you to be safe. Remember, data tells us how to mitigate what? So if I'm analyzing a deal, and let's say from the data it's telling me that the market is shifting and the prices may come down, am I taking what the ARV is today? No, I'm taking a prediction that over the next 6 months that ARV is going to keep dropping, so I'm going to base my numbers on what this property's value would be in 6 months based on that downslide. You with me? That's how we kept rehabbing all the way through the downturns. That's how we kept rehabbing through 07, 08, 09, 10, 11. Everybody's like, you didn't stop. No, I just took what the market was sliding and took that off my ARV and said, this is what it's going to be worth in 6 months. Oh, no, it's not worth that right now. Well, right now, but I'm not selling it today, am I? I got to go in, I got to fix it up, I got to put time in it, and I got to put it on the market. That's 3 to 6 months down the road. How many of you understand what I'm saying right there? Say yes. Yes. Good. I've got to get that into you guys, right? So real estate's not risky. That's the thing. It's managing the risk eliminates the risky side of it, right? It's risky to those that don't know. It's risky to those that don't know. It's risky to the ones you're sitting at the coffee table with your family saying, I want to go into real estate. And they're like, oh, why would you do that? Stay at your job. It's safe. 40 years, you're going to get a watch. And hopefully your 401k will still be there, which is the greatest scam in the world, if you ever look at it. Anyways, let me not go down the financial side of that. But you got to understand, they don't know what you know. All my family still won't do real estate. Even though they've seen me build a massive wealth from it. They're like, oh, that's risky. You just know more. I'm like, yeah, because why? I went out and educated myself. I sat in rooms just like this when everybody else was hanging out the bar. I went to seminars when people were like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. don't you go there. They're going to sell you something. Okay, I have a choice though, right? I can buy or not. I wanted the information. And so this is how I learned all this from a mentor of mine. I call him Uncle Rick Marionsky. But we look at the indicators. What do we got? Ooh, look at that. We only got one red flag coming into January. And then we hit March, and what do we got? One red flag. So I still believe if this goes up towards the end of the month, or the end of the next couple of months, 3 to 6 months, anywhere, if this goes up and this keeps going up, without a shadow of a doubt, what's going to come down? Prices. Let's look at Madison. Ooh, everybody wants to know about Madison. Madison. Man, if you guys are waiting on a deal in Madison County, good luck. So you got to get out of Madison County. What's the first thing you see on this one? Solds. Yep, solds definitely took a dip in 23. But look, what's the consistency here? What was all 3 counties? What did you see happen in 23? Everything went down. And who was investing in 2023? What was everybody saying? Oh, the bubble's popping. No, it's not. It's correcting. It's correcting. Why is it correcting? If it was popping, we would have seen a bunch of other indicators. It was correcting because what happened in 2023? The inventory tripled. You can't have the sales continue when you have 3 times the amount of inventory and expect prices to just skyrocket. It won't happen, okay? But look at this. What's the other red flag for me? I'll tell you, this is a major red flag all the time. Days on market. Days on market show you the desire and the demand of the buyers. That's what it shows you. There's no other greater indicator than looking at days on market. There's no other greater indicator. You look at that and you look at quantity, what happened? Man, look at January of this year. We were 3 times as much as we were 2 years ago. But because of all of that, inventory go 3 times, the availability of inventory 3 months, what is always going to happen when you see that? Prices are going to go down. Look at it. What do we got? We got the 3 red flags. 3 red flags. 3 red flags always tell us what? The market is going to correct itself. In some way, some shape. Sales went down. Listen, here's the big part. Look at this. Sales went down. Prices went up. Inventory went up. But days on market went up. And the month of inventory went up. Which says what? The price, the average sales price, inevitably was going to correct itself when you've got inventory is high, days on market creeping up, and sales go down. People will always drop their price. They'll always drop the price in that scenario. And then you look at what happened in March. What happened? No, in January, just looking at January data, I said, look, prices are going to go down. And what happened? Prices went down. Prices went down. And look, days on market is at 47. I would not be surprised if you guys don't watch Madison County and look in July and August. And if this number goes up and this number goes up, what's going to happen again? Prices are going to go down again. They absolutely will. Now, I don't want to freak you out completely, but this is for the whole county. Now, are neighborhoods different? Absolutely, neighborhoods are different. Absolutely, right? Like my neighborhood, I know without a shadow of a doubt, my neighborhood does not sell for more than 170 a square foot. And there's a guy around the corner just put his house on the market for almost $200 a square foot. And I'm like, what world's he living in? And guess what's going on? It's still sitting. In my neighborhood, properties don't sit. Like they just don't sit. You know my neighborhood. Like they go. Like they want to be in there. They want to be in the school zone. They want to be right there in Madison, right? And it's an older established neighborhood with trees and all that good stuff and parks. And so everybody wants to be there. And I'm driving by and I'm like, what's going to happen? He's going to start bringing his price down because they live in this world of what we call, if I had time, I don't have time tonight, but I do what's called a market cycle training. And I teach you guys what a market cycle looks like. Where's the slide? What's the denial period? And it's really good to learn what the denial period is. And a lot of sellers run into that because they're in denial that the market's correcting themselves because they don't go pull this information. Are you guys understanding? All right, I'm going to give you some. Miss Deb gave us some charts for all you guys that like graphs. So this is average sales price. So get your cameras out. Start taking some pictures. So this is the average sales price, Madison, Limestone, and Morgan. So you can see what's going on as we were just talking about the dips. And obviously we always spike. When do we always spike in sales? July, August area. Everybody's rushing to get into school zones and all that stuff, right? So that's the average sales price. Then you've got dollar volume on closed sales. Obviously Madison's always going to be higher just because of price point. Took a huge dip there right around December. Closed sales. Look, these are almost identical. Look at that. So, because one is closed sales and one is volume, which are very much in hand with each other. Oh, sorry, Paul. Oh, it broke. So, all right, medium days on market. What just happened? Look at that. Gosh, guys, that right there should tell you right now. Look, when I'm working with my coaching students, it's so funny. They'll send me a deal. They'll say, all right, Zach, look this over. First thing I go look at is what is their months for hold time to rehab and what is their months to sell it. And you'll see them in there with like 3 months. And I'm like, no way. Like, there's no way. You might as well look at every single deal that's going to take you 6 months, right? And then that number is going to keep growing if the average days on market does what? Keep going up. If that 47 hits 60, you can bet I'm going to start running all my deals with a 7 to 8 month hold time. Now, if I sell it in 4 months, is that a win for me? Absolutely. But am I hedging my risk? Yes, we're managing risk. You guys catching this? How many of you caught what I threw out just now? 2 of you? Good. That's what I'm talking about. So, hey, they always say if you affect one person, you did a good job, right? I got two. So, all right. And then homes for sale. This is important. This is inventory. Man, and here's the thing. When Tim gets up here from Cadence, you guys need to ask him some questions about what's coming on the market. We have a storm of units still coming onto the markets, and we still now have, in my mind, we're starting to put way too much inventory on with where rates are and where days on market are, right? If that would slow down a little bit, I think we would see a little bit more affordability and a little bit more ease into housing, and if we could get Tim to change the interest rates. He doesn't control the Fed, so. All right, month supply, homes for sale, same thing I was just sharing with you. Limestone's monthly supply is a lot higher. That's an area we got to be careful with. I'm telling you guys, this is a good sign that we're seeing the dip, but what are we going to be nervous about? Guys, if this starts hitting 5 and 6 months, I'm here to tell you, prices will absolutely start to drop over there. It'll be inevitable. If you don't believe me, go out there and start investing, and then you'll be like, well, I should have listened, right? So I've had those conversations many a times in my career. So, all right. Here's what I want you to take a picture of more than anything. These are the data points you got to pull, and you got to learn. If you want to stay safe in your market, you got to pull these data points. You got to know the quantity sold, volume sold, average sales price, average list price, average sold price, active listings, available inventory, average days on market, how many foreclosures are coming into the market, how many permits are being pulled per month in a market. It's another great indicator. New construction, not remodel permits. New construction, because new construction permits will always slow down when builders can't sell inventory. So when they can't sell their inventory, they'll stop pulling permits, which is a front-end indicator that what? The demand has slowed down, so we need to predict longer hold times and a slide in ARV, after repaired value, okay? And then unemployment percentage. Those two things are actually a lot more important than anything else. Was that good? All right, listen, good, thank you. Well, I'm going to bring up a special power team. This is my team. I work with them on a daily basis, but these guys know what's going on that we don't know. They know more about what's going on behind the scene than we would ever know. When you've got an associate broker that's seeing what all the other agents are doing, is an investor herself and is in the market, growing other agents to work with investors, she sees what we don't see when we're just looking at it from our point of view. When you've got a vice president of our area with Cadence, he sees what we don't see. He sees what loans are getting approved. He sees what loans aren't getting approved. He knows what banks are saying they don't want to fund anymore. This is the type of people you got to be putting yourselves around. And then when you can actually speak to the founder of a title company who sees what's getting closed, what's not getting closed. Guys, your power team is more than just someone who provides service for you. Let me be very clear on this. Your power team almost needs to be like your best friends in this business. You need to not just call them when you need something. You need to be talking to them about what the market's doing. What do they see? What do they know? You need to be having coffee meetings. You need to be involved with them to get information, and how can you collaborate together. You guys understand what I'm saying? We closed, me and Tim, we did a closing on a bunch of apartment buildings. And Tim was there at the closing, and the broker who brought me the pocket listing was there. And when we left there, the broker called me and he said, you know what I noticed sitting at that closing? And I said, what's that? He goes, you and that banker were like buddies. And I was like, yeah, he controls my finances. Right? Like, he gives me money. Like, I need to be his friend. And he's like, I noticed that. He goes, I got to learn to start creating those types of relationships. And I'm like, yeah, it's not like, can I get a loan? It's like, what are you looking for? How do I need to structure it? What's a better way to structure this? Like, help me work this to where it wins for the bank and it wins for me too. How do we get it through underwriting? These are the things you got to start talking to your team about. And that's where you're going to start seeing yourself succeed even more when you put that team together and you have meetings with them, right? So, guys, I want to bring up a few people here that are real special to me, but I'm going to start off with bringing up Tim Green. Tim Green is he's our banker, and he's with Cadence Bank. And so if you guys know Cadence, they're becoming a little bit of a powerhouse around here. Mr. Tim, I'll let you hold that. I want to bring up somebody. Have a seat, Tim. I want to bring up somebody that's been with me a long time, Miss Debbie Robertson with Associate Broker at Keller Williams. The good thing about Debbie is that she is not just an agent, she's an investor too. She's been doing business with the people in this community for a long time and in this club for a long time. She runs all of our bus tours with us when we go out with our investors and look at properties. And there's a difference in an agent and an investor agent, and they're not all the same. They're not all the same. The next person I want to bring up is one of the very first people I ever met when I came here, and I was doing a short sale business. I met Mr. Stan McDonald, and who is the founder of Jacob Title, and I have watched them grow and develop, and I've been a big part of just everything that they do over at Jacob Title. So guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to ask them some specific questions about their industry, what they're seeing, what they notice that can help you guys. And then we're going to open up for some Q&A for you. Does that sound good? Are you guys going to ask questions? Okay. I got 4 of you. All right. Well, look, let's just get the party started pretty quickly. Mr. Stan. Tell everybody a little bit about what you guys specialize in real quick so they can hear from the founder himself.
So Jacob.
It's on. I just got to turn the volume up.
All right, There we go. Jacob Title, we do closings. And we also have our companion company, the Stanton Law Firm. With the closings, we really decided 3 or 4 years ago to really specialize a lot with investors. We did that for a number of reasons. We feel like the investor spirit is the entrepreneurial spirit. We believe that you do business with the people that you like, the people that you have an affinity for. We are big believers in property rights, in the principles of risk and reward, property ownership. We believe that we like to see real estate investing not in the cookie cutter way. We think that real estate investing can be a positive, profitable thing when things are moving that way and when they're moving that way. And so we I guess you'd say invested in the investors because we believe that you don't have to experience this all the time. So we like being problem solvers. And the investor oftentimes is learning how to take a tough situation and turn it into a great situation. So they need an attorney or title company who can roll up the sleeves, appreciate what you're trying to do, and turn a negative into a positive. We call ourselves problem solvers, and we're excited every day when we get up to try to take what might be the negative and turn it into positive, and to try to look every day through a prism, P-R-I-S-M, prism of that things may have changed from what they were 6 months ago. Now, we also, as problem solvers, we have a law firm, the Stanton Law Firm, and Kyle Massengale, our managing attorney there, is in the back of the room there. He can raise his hand. And then we also have Scott Wood, who many of y'all know with the title company. He is an expert problem solver. And sometimes we have what we would call advanced curative work, meaning there's a lot of work that needs to be done on this, and sometimes it's legal work. So we're all about being real estate problem solvers and ultimately getting you to the closing table and being your friend and your joint venture partner all along the way.
So Stan, answer this. Riddle me this, riddle me that. As the closing side, what are you guys seeing that this group might need to be aware of? Are you seeing more refis coming in, more first-time home buyers coming in, more investor buyers coming in? Where are you seeing, I guess, behind the curtains? What are you seeing in your office?
Well, So we are seeing some of our investor friends that are refinancing.
Yep.
I don't know entirely what's behind that. Maybe you can tell us, but that's something that exists right now that probably didn't happen 5-6 months ago. Not sure what's behind that
The
entirely.
refinance, well, we'll have to ask Tim about that one.
Yeah. So the refinancing.
Because rates went up, didn't they? Residential rates went up. No, okay, that's good.
So maybe that's why there's a real a blip in that. You still have a lot of people that are, first-time home builders buying from tract builders, but these tract builders are pushing their prices down pretty good, pretty strongly pushing those prices down. The existing homes, that business is tough right now. It's pretty tough. Now, and I would say though it's okay, and maybe Limestone County, but it's tough other places.
So what about any regulations that you know that are coming down on investors right now that could help them in their path down the market and being careful?
Well, I think Scott has spoken in the past couple of months
Yeah,
to some of the.
he spoke on the 203 regulation, which was around wholesaling.
Right.
Anything else in the pipeline that you know of?
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
But that's something to keep an eye on. Anybody in a growing industry needs to keep an eye more on the regulations and frankly politics than most people normally do.
Right. Yeah.
That was yeah.
So what about on the closing side? I know I'm hitting you hard, Steve.
That's all right. I'm thinking, trying to give a good answer.
Well, you're doing good. I'm going to try to stump you on this one, though. What about on the closing side of things? When we're dealing with novation, sub-twos, anything that's going on out there that's a little bit more on the creative side, are you seeing anything that's rising up that you're trying to get out to your investor clients to say, hey, look, we're seeing more of this happen or more notes getting called? Like, are you seeing anything that's an awareness in that side?
I think, but you named it. The subject twos and the novations are two, good vehicles right now that people are using and taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something else that can be done, and I don't see people do this a lot, but it sounds like a neat thing to me. And Scott was talking to me about it the other day. I guess you call it a mirror mortgage. You know what this is?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you probably do. I mean, I'll try my hand at it. But let's say that somebody has a nice big house, and they are wondering if they might want to downsize, wondering if they can sell this thing. They literally can maybe do a assumption of a mortgage. Let's say if I were to have a house and my interest rate's 2 3/4% or something like that, somebody might really, really buy that from me, and they might still buy it at a good price where I can protect my equity. But I might not be willing to do that because if I do an assumption, I'm still going to be on the hook for the loan, right?
Yep.
Well, no, not
On a
necessarily.
sub-2, you're still on the hook.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But on this, there's a little a vehicle where you can do a mirror mortgage, such that after a year, that mirror mortgage, when somebody has gotten a loan, assumed your loan, then it makes it an asset for you as the seller, and as such, you may have to buy your next house at the higher interest rate, but you sold it where you preserved your equity. And the good thing is that if you're worried about your income to debt ratio, Tim's watching me close right here. If you're concerned about your income to debt ratio, because it's a personal asset now, you're not in a sense penalized because you have 2 loans instead of 1 loan. Did you follow that?
Yes.
Did I do okay on that, Scott?
I don't know. You might have went over some people's head here. So, but assumptions are great, as long as they qualify. But at the end of the day, sometimes you got to get the bank approval on almost all assumptions right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, except what's the year that most assumptions were in commercial, not residential, in commercial? 19. I can't think of it. Say it. Who knows it? Say it. Yeah, 87. So after that, we had to get real tricky to assume a loan. Well, thank you, Mr. Stan. I'm going to shoot over to Miss Debbie Robertson right now. If you'll pass the mic over. You got to hold it close. Yeah. Give her both of them. Come on. So listen, I see you got your pad with you there. You come prepared. Look at you. I'm nervous what she's going to talk about. So listen, from a broker and investor point of view, being out there in the market, on the beaten path, I'd like for you to share with everyone in here that's in the journey to get into real estate. What are some things that they need to be aware of? Are there certain markets that you already know by neighborhood that are a little transition? Or what's just some information that you feel like, hey, I've got this moment to share and love on this group? What's something that you could give them right now that would be value?
Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm a nerd because I brought notes. I was just afraid I'd have to come up with something here, but I just kind of wanted to share some of the things that he talked about on those graphs.
A little closer.
Can you guys hear me?
There you go.
I feel like I'm about to eat this thing.
I know.
So I want to share, when you look at these graphs, a lot of times we're seeing these huge upswings, like days on market and stuff like that. And he said part of our job up here was to kind of calm you guys back down on this. And I know this is a real estate agent. I'm not trying to tell you the market's wonderful. But when we're talking about like days on market, right now we're looking at like last year, what were we average?
In Madison?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that back up.
Of 29.
So 29, and now we're up to, if we want to do apples to apples, 40. I mean, if we're talking about percentages, that looks huge. But in reality, when we're talking 40 days on market, anybody who's been in this market for more than a minute, I think it's funny because, I have my sellers and they start panicking if their house doesn't sell the first week.
I got students like that.
Yeah, and I guess the reality check is, 40 days on market is not scary at all. And we got it, like Zach said, we got to plan for these things. We're not planning to put the house on the market and get 20 people bidding our price up anymore. Right. But we're still in a very healthy market.
This is why we always run it, that it's going to take 3 to 6 months to sell it, not it's going to sell in 20 days.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's part of it. Days on market, they are going up. Inventory is also going up. But if you still look at our inventory, it's still very much a seller's market. I would even say, some people would say a more neutral market is almost that 4 to 7.
It is very neutral.
Neutral. So even at a 4-month, what we saw maybe in Limestone and Morgan County, I mean, maybe
Morgan
we're getting
was
close.
at 2. Morgan's still definitely stellar. Limestone was
we're-
at 4.
Yeah, so we're seeing about a 4-month inventory there. One other thing I want to point out about these Limestone and Morgan counties is, let's look at the pool. You can't leave out the fact that when we're looking at Madison County, we're looking at over 300 properties, right? So we're not going to see the ups and downs. Well, we will see it more in 100 and 200. We have a smaller pool. So we're going to see these ups and downs and stuff like that. So we don't want to look in a vacuum and just look at January to January. We really want to look at those graphs because you're seeing this because you have a smaller pool. And so you don't panic when you see 4.1 months there. I mean, when you start seeing trends, obviously, like he's showing there, but you got to look at the big picture. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. Got to give them some feedback up here, right?
And the other thing is everybody's saying, house prices, they're going to drop. We are seeing a leveling off. If you really look at it, you're looking at a 0.9% about increase right now in prices. So we're still on the up, but you're seeing a leveling off, which is a correction like we were saying before.
We're definitely not in a crash.
We're not in a crash.
Even 2023 wasn't a crash, even though people were freaking out in 23, man. Mm-hmm. So what happened with rates in 23, Tim? Did that affect that pivotal moment?
Rates in 23 skyrocketed.
Yes.
The fall of 23,
well, you say skyrocketed. 23, they hit like what, 6 for investors, 6.5? And then 24 we hit 8, or no, 23 we hit 8.
In 23 we hit 8.
That's right.
And remember, we went from 3% rates up to 8% rates.
For residential.
For residential. And people are having to adjust. The builders are adjusting. The builders are adjusting the size of the house they're building. They were all building 3,000 square foot houses. And
18-2 now.
Yeah.
18-2.
18-2 now.
Yep.
Because I was, I'm talking to young people in 3,000 square foot house. I was like, when did that become a starter home?
Well, because the rates were 2%.
Right.
They were buying $600,000 houses when they should have only been buying $250,000 houses.
They could afford more. And the thing on this chart that I always watch and that I think prices still have to adjust down In Madison County, the average household income is $78,000. The mortgage on an average price of $369,000, what's that, $2,300 monthly
2,400,
payment?
Yeah.
So your mortgage payment's going to take up 35% of your gross income. It's hard to get approved. Hard to get approved when your mortgage payment's 35% of your gross income.
And what's the DTI on that? Or what's the bank looking for on the DTI?
Total DTI, 40, 45%.
45.
And that's residential.
Yeah. That's who we're selling to when we're rehabbing, right?
So if 35% is your mortgage payment,
not your
you-
car loan,
you
not
better not
your-
have credit cards, car loan, or
Right.
anything like that.
they're gonna buy smaller houses.
Right. And so, we're all still thinking prices are going to have to adjust down some.
I'm with you, Tim. I'm with you. I agree with you.
And we're looking at the metrics of this is the average income, this is the average price, this is what it's going to cost them to finance. In Limestone County, average income is $54,000,
Yeah.
average household income. So
Deb, are
Madison-
you seeing that on your side as a broker too? People not getting qualified because of DTI?
Yeah, so, like he's saying, obviously when interest rates are higher, the affordability for the house has greatly decreased. So you've got a lot of people who maybe it's time for them, they want to size up, their house is growing, or shrinking for that matter, but they're in an interest rate now of like 2 or 3%. And now they're looking, hey, we got 2 more kids, we want to get more house. Well, now they have a 2% interest rate, and they want to jump into that 7% interest rate, and they're realizing, hey, I can't get more house for more money. And so people are staying put, which of course then still has a supply-demand problem. People are staying put. People are not selling their house unless they have to. They're staying put because their interest rates are so much higher now they can't afford the same house.
Let me ask you something, Tim. This is a good question for us as investors who are out here trying to create inventory and put it on the market to sell to the people who come get loans from your bank. What are you seeing internally? Like, are the applications for loans going up? Are they going down? Are they stagnant? Like, what are you seeing?
We're having a lot of mortgage officers get out of the business.
Really? Well, that answers that question.
Well, applications have decreased dramatically, and mortgage bankers are paid based on commission. They don't get a salary, and so a lot of them were starving. And times were great when the market was good with 2-3%.
Well, 21 and
Yeah.
22 was amazing here. We came out of COVID skyrocketing.
I mean, and I know some of them, they bought a lot of stuff and now they're selling stuff to stay afloat. And so applications have dropped off dramatically. Now they are starting to pick back up. Mortgage officer I talked to before I came here, her application volume, she's got about 15 applications she's working on right now. So.
Stan, are you guys seeing the same thing on your side? Like, are you seeing dips and peaks, like as a closing attorney also? Like, hey, last 3 months, closings were down and now they're coming back up. Are you seeing that too?
Yes, we are seeing that. And some of it's seasonal because here we are at the beginning of May. So I agree with what Tim's saying about a lot of loan officers going out of business. I don't think he would disagree with what I'm about to say, though, and that is a truth that we need to understand, and it's true. However, I will say that I know some people, sometimes you simply have a rearrangement of the furniture, sometimes the way I say it. There are some people right now that are in the business who are doing good at it. There are. And, I don't know if they've just rearranged their personal constitution. Sometimes when you're creative and you're hungry, you get in at the right time. When everybody else is running out, you're running in. There are a lot of success stories there, but it's not. Like you said, Zach, 21 and 22, it was like falling off a log, wasn't it? Many times, and so you create an atmosphere there where some people will get complacent. So everything
They're not
goes
hungry
cyclical, as you
anymore.
know. They're not hungry anymore. Everything goes, you can't, my grandmother told me, everything. I was an Auburn football fan, so she had to encourage me often. Because she said, it will cycle back up. And so everything cycles. I do know this. I was talking to a guy today. He'd be a kind of a household name here. You know, a guy that people would say, what does he say? And, you know, from talking to him, he probably, if he was here right now, say, you know, all the bad things that happen, don't lose your nerve.
There you go.
Don't lose your nerve and remain hungry. And I think what Zach's teaching here is, you know, don't just go on feelings anymore, because this is serious stuff. But if you're taking it serious and you're deciding that you want to be one of the best out there, I had all kinds of people tell me before I became a lawyer, they said, or tried to become a lawyer, they said, don't do that. Everybody's a lawyer in every corner. Well, someone came along and convinced me, yeah, but if you'll specialize, decide what you want to do, and be one of the best at it, then you'll have no trouble. I found that to be so true, and I can't believe that I stayed out of trying to do that as long as I did. So I would just say, look, and Tim agreed with me, I'm sure. He's giving you an accurate report that things have slowed down. But I don't know that I wouldn't rather get in when it's slowing down
Amen.
than I would when it's you can fall off a log. And you guys are the serious ones here, so you're in that top 10%. You know what you're trying to do. So it may be that 2 or 3 years from now you're going to look back and laugh at the whole idea of being worried to begin with. Don't lose your nerve.
Well, that's like in 08 and 07. Everybody was like, you're crazy. What are you doing? I'm like, no. Like from 2007 to 2012, you guys would be shocked at what I would tell you what I was buying houses and fourplexes here for. And it was because everybody ran out scared. They were like, no, nobody's buying. I'm like, no, I'm buying. I'm going to buy it. It was something I was sharing with a new family that was here out in the lounge earlier. Is like, people say, what's the success? Just stay in real estate.
Can I say something here?
Just stay in it. Buy it and stay in it, right?
In 2008, we had this mortgage debacle. Some of y'all realize this. In 2006, 7, 8, 9, it is a time that you never want to go through it again if you don't have to. And one of the reasons that we are so inclined towards working with investors now is because those were the guys who found a way in 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we want to stay with those kind of people. Remember, Scott Wood and I, we were both subject to the downturn and the things we were doing. Scott was a lender at the time. And things looked like they could go south real fast. And I think it was me, Scott. I'll take credit for this. I said, I read an article that some of the biggest millionaires that ever this country's known made it during the Depression. That's right. I think I remember an economics teacher teaching me one time in college, Auburn University, War Eagle, said that where there's a up, there's a down. Where there's a winner, there's a loser. Now, we've got that in the free market, by the way. Now, you take away freedom, and that doesn't happen as much. But where there's an up, there's a down. So I thought, Zach, let's learn about the downs so we can figure out the ups.
That's 100%.
We invented something called, we were probably the only law firm, title company in the community. Tim will remember this. We basically invented how to help realtors or homeowners, underwater homeowners, do short sales. We didn't do as many as we wanted to do, but I tell you what, we did over 500, 600, 700, and it carried us through 2007 through 2010. Praise the Lord. Ain't that true, Scott?
That was when I met you, was in that short sale period. So that's all good. I get lost in your stories, Stan. You got a lot of history over there, man, except for the War Eagle side. But, oh, come on now. So
if we'd have won the Iron Bowl this year, I wouldn't rub it in.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get back on top of this. If I pulled Auburn's dad, it'd be real bad. So, all right, we're gonna stay out of that one. So, Deb, tell me something about right now. So, out of looking at Madison County, looking at Limestone, and looking at Decatur, what would you say? I mean, obviously, you don't have a crystal ball. I get that. But what would you say right now? Like, looking at those markets, knowing what you know, are you rushing in? You rushing out? You holding? You looking? You changing your investing strategy? Like, what are you thinking?
So I know one thing that you preach in Madison County, it's different for investor versus a home buyer. Yep. But for an investor, Madison County is probably not where you want to start off investing. you can look, and I mean, you can just drive around and see Limestone County and Morgan County, how it's just growing. Everything is pushing out, out.
Progression of growth.
Progression,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if you're looking for that long-term hold, you know, I'm seeing it go on the outside, the
Yeah.
outskirts, the zones outside of Madison County.
I agree.
So,
Yeah, and I just want to preface something she said. She said you probably wouldn't want to start in Madison County. And it's not that you don't want to own in Madison County. It's just it's very difficult to find really good deals in Madison County. And you've got every, you know,
Every
1,001 wholesaler who live all over the country calling every single vacant property and landlord here. And so by the time you call them, they're like, "You're the 28th person that's called me." And you're like, "Oh, sorry. Like, you want to sell? You got anything else you want to sell?" No. I'm not like them. I promise. I actually will buy it, right? So that's to preface that. It's not that you don't want them here. I mean, if it comes up, you definitely want to buy it here. It's just it's a little challenging to dig them up here. So this is why we work on what's called Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 markets. Madison County is classified as a Tier 1 market. It's the hub. Tier 2 markets is anything within a 30-minute ring around that, and Tier 3 is an hour ring around that. This is why we teach with the theory that, look, if you're investing, put a flag in your market and draw a 1-hour radius around that flag, and that's where you should be focused on right now. Now, as markets change, more inventory hits the market, prices come down, not saying that they are, but if they do, what will happen naturally as we, as investors, as we move out into Tier 3 markets, we start to come back into Tier 1 as more inventory pops up and more availability to find deals pop up. You guys understanding what I'm saying there? And then as it gets more saturated and inventory goes away, we start to move back out. It's kind of like a heartbeat. We kind of come in, we go out. We come in, we go out, because ultimately we're doing what? We're moving money to make money, okay? So that's good information. I agree with all of that you just said, Miss Debbie, even when you tell me my pricing is wrong. That's an inside joke. So, all right, Tim, I got a big one for you. So enlighten the people in the room right now when we talk about the rental market. And, when we talk about the rental market, and we're trying to create some predictions on, look, our rental market has been very bullish, because there just ain't been enough available, right? It's like us, landlords like myself who own, anyways, but, we've been able to just keep pushing price. Well, not me. My management company keeps pushing prices up. Where units that I had bought years ago that I was happy to get $250, we're getting $1,000 a month for. Houses that I bought that were getting $600, we're getting $1,700 for. I've got a feeling, I got a little prediction that those rents are going to start settling down because of what Tim told me late last year. And what was that?
Well, the banks have seen a saturation of units that are ready to come on the market for rental. Last year, you had 8,400 units come on the market for rental.
Last year. That's right.
This year, they're projecting 13,000.
13,000 more units hitting the market this year.
So
for rent.
So
Yeah.
all these large apartment complexes that you're seeing going up, banks in the U.S. are not financing them right now. We're not looking at any more apartment complexes. Zach and I did
20 unit?
Yeah, 4 or 5 fourplexes. And the only reason that I could get it done was, number one, it was already established. Number two, it was C-class, B-class property. And number three, it was in a CRA area. So those were the 3 reasons I could get it done.
Did it have anything to do with me?
Huh? Well, it did have something to do with you, but you got to know your bank, and you got to know what they're doing. I mean, I just had this conversation with 2 bankers that work with me. You got to know what we're doing, what we want to do. So, because I had both of them walk in, hey, I'm talking to this guy, and he's $50 million project. What is it? Apartment complexes. Okay, move on. Because it's not going to happen.
Like, listen to that, guys.
And
Like, that's important to hear.
when I'm telling the bankers to move on, that's, you don't want to get involved in that. Anybody know who's financing the Huntsville Upfront project by the BBC? 500 plus units. Who is it?
The bank out of Mexico.
Bank out of Mexico. Because they could not get a U.S. bank.
It's the best way to launder money.
No U.S. bank interested in the project.
Yeah.
And that was in the press release.
And that's a prime piece of real estate.
Yeah.
You know where he's talking about? Right across the street from Rhythm on the corner? Yeah.
So that's 500 plus rental units that will come on the market.
That no U.S. bank would touch.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's Class A. It's Class A, but you're talking probably 1,500 to 2,300. One
And it's
bedroom.
walking distance to the drop-off zone of the air bridge
Right.
that's going in, the air train that's going in. That's how prime it is, and the bank still wouldn't touch it.
I mean, they had it approved. They had several banks doing the syndication, but they took too long to bring it to groundbreaking, and the banks started pulling out because they started looking at it, and they're like, "Well, construction hadn't started. I'm not pregnant yet, so we're out." And so,
He's from Limestone. You don't worry about it. So, all right. Well, look, I want to ask you a couple more things because I always love our conversations. So tell them about what is also changing out there when we start looking at these deals to get, our refinance on our rentals or even purchase loans on our rentals. You guys are starting to see the DCR rates starting to move up too also. Where we used to be able to get them done at 1.15 or 1.2, we're now starting to see banks changing their regulations to where now it proves at what?
minimum is 1.25, but right now banks are moving towards 1.35.
And just so you understand, DCR is debt cover ratio. So it's the rents. Oh, I done forgot the math. Oh, I can't believe I forgot the math.
So basically what that means is 125 means for every dollar's worth of debt you're paying, you got $1.25 coming in.
Yeah. So if you got $1,000 a month in a mortgage payment, you better be renting it for or after expense. What do you guys take off? 25% of gross
30.
rents, or
Yeah,
30?
30.
30% off of gross rent should leave you with $1,250.
Right. So the thing that I like the way Zach does is when he looks at his property, he looks at the debt service requirements of his property. And he gets nervous if it's below 170. I like Zach.
I'm only looking for the best.
But that's the whole idea. When you're talking to your banker, you know that the minimum requirement is 125. You take them a deal to where the debt service ratio is 150, 160, or 2 to 1, he's going to be very interested in making that deal happen. And he's going to have a much easier time making it happen.
So Tim, I'm glad you're bringing this up. Do you know how many times I get people in this community and in this group, and I talk about the deals that I do, and they say, oh, you can't find them out there. You finance my deals. I'm bringing you the 1.7s, the 1.8s, the 2s and higher. They're out there, aren't they?
Yes. Every market's there's good business everywhere. Even when there's a downturn in the market, there's good business. You've got to be the one that finds it.
That's right. You can't be, and this is what I keep preaching. I'm so glad Tim's here. Thanks, Tim. Because they don't believe me when I tell them they're out there.
He finally said something positive about me.
Right? But it's about consistent effort, though. You can't just wake up today and say, oh, I think I'm going to look for a few deals, and then not look for deals for 2 months, and then be like, oh, I think I'm going to look for deals today, and then wonder why you can't get anywhere. It's like somebody said the other day, we were talking about something, they were like, oh, Zach, you've been so lucky. I said, do not confuse my luck with consistent hard work. Like, don't you confuse my luck. I've been blessed. The Lord has blessed me, but I've put the feet on the road, and I've put my ear to the phone, and I've made those calls. And I've educated myself to get better at it. So don't confuse my effort with luck. And it is there, but guys, I'm telling you, you will not find it if you think it's going to fall in your lap. And let me say this to you also. You'll get on the run. You'll get on the hustle season in your life, and you'll start making calls, and then 30 days will go by, and you'll be like, well, I didn't find anything. It don't work. I'm just going to go back doing what I'm doing. That is a natural reaction for someone trying to become an entrepreneur. It is an absolute natural reaction because we want to go back to comfort. We want to go back to comfort. Yeah, but I'm getting a paycheck. I'll just go back over here. Versus I'm going to keep putting this hard work in. I'm going to keep putting the time in. I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to keep getting hung up on. I'm going to keep getting laughed at. I'm going to keep getting told no until I make it. Well, I think a why is a lot of reasons. I know some people that don't have a genuine why and they're only driven by money and they've made millions in this business, right? But then there again, there's the people who have a genuine why and a drive. But don't confuse those two, right? What drives, like when we built a sales floor, we always looked at personality traits between our people. Some people were motivated by time off. Some people were motivated by just, what's it called when you tell somebody they did a good job? Recognition. Yeah, I don't do a very good job of that. Some people are motivated by recognition and others are motivated by money, right? So just because like my why was my children and to live the life that I'm living now, other people are just motivated by money and that's all they want to do. And they will call 400 people in one day to get a deal when the other person isn't that motivated and they're comfortable. Here's the big key right here. They're comfortable because they have a job and their bills are being paid. And so the drive and the desire to get out of the situation isn't there, right? Like my desire was I had a dead-end job. I was a high school dropout and I was living at my ex-wife's parents' house, right? Like you're talking about low, right? My drive was like I was going to work, I was going to night school, I was making calls on lunch break, making calls on the way to my night school, making calls in the morning and at night. I was driven to get out of the painful situation I was in. Where people who don't have that type of pain don't find the drive to go do that as much. Does this make sense? Because they're comfortable. So the pain has to be greater to not go after it than to stay where you are. And until that happens, you'll never get out of that situation. You just won't. It just will never happen. We're complacent people. We are natural. We're human beings. We're complacent. We want comfort. We want predictability. We want, oh, I do this all the time. This is how I do it. Versus, let me go jump off a cliff and see if my parachute opens. Like we're not designed that way. We're designed to run from fear. And going after something new is very fearful. Trust me, I coach a lot of people. You know, half of my battle is getting them out of their head and where they came from or the failures they had or the things that didn't work or what someone said or what the banker told them or what the title, you know, what someone, it's shocking what one little thing that is said to somebody sticks in their brain and then they cultivate this image of who they are moving forward. Whew, let me stop. This is I'm getting on my go get it, go win it, yes. Right? Like go get it. It's out there for you to get. It really is. You just got to go get it. So anyways, back to market. Sorry guys, I got a little moment there, you know. Felt the little opening, had to go after it there. Do a little motivation. So anyways, Mr. Tim, I want you to talk about something else. And this was a shocker that you came to me, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago I was talking to you. Guys, are you noticing, how often am I talking to these people? As many times as they'll answer my phone, right? Because they know information that I don't know, right? I need this information. I mean, I can't tell how many times Stan or me have called and said, hey, let's do coffee. Let's sit, let's talk, right? Let's see what's going on. You got to do this. So anyways, you said something on a call not too long ago that there is a trend happening where banks are stopping rehab loans.
Yes. So you have to understand banks are getting very nervous about construction. Okay. Rehab loans are usually investors. And sometimes it's investors doing their own rehab. Sometimes it's investors hiring GCs, things of this nature. And you would think a rehab loan would be safer than a builder building something out of the ground coming up. But that's not how banks see it. They see it as a higher risk. So going back to what Zach's told you about risk, is you need to sit down with your banker and have a discussion with them and say, okay, I want to be a real estate investor. I'm going to buy single family, 1 to 4 family rental property. Tell me what a good deal looks like for your bank, for my bank. If it's Bank Independent, Redstone, whoever, what does a good deal look like for y'all? So if I brought this deal to you, you could look at that and say, yeah, I can get that approved. Because, guys, I mean, I've got $1 million loan authority. What Zach brings me is usually within my loan authority. But I still have to answer a lot of compliance, regulatory things, and answer the credit before I can sign off on it. It's not like it used to be. Even the small banks are that way. Because a regulatory person can come in and shut a bank down in a heartbeat, or at least give a bank a reason to fire a loan officer.
And so you guys are really pulling back on any rehab loans right now. You'll do construction to perm as a rental, but
Yeah.
you're not doing straight rehab loans.
We're not doing straight rehabs. We're pulling back on that as much as possible.
So this is why you guys need to be having conversations with the REI funding partners over here, because when banks are moving into this trend, and you're going to start going into your bank that you talked to 4 months ago that would do it, and now you walk in with a great deal, and they're like, no, we're not doing them anymore. If you don't have banks like REI funding partners in your pocket, well, now you're scrambling. Well, you got the cartel up here, right?
And guys, this is true for any business. Zach, I do a lot with Zach, but my main business is C&I. This is working with manufacturers and things like that. Before I came here, the argument I had with my credit team was, I've got a company needs a $5 million line of credit. It's inventory dependent. They don't like the inventory. They're worried about the economy. And so I'm talking to my client, and I'm talking to credit, and I'm trying to find a happy medium. That's why you talk to your banker. If it's good for a 10, 20, $30 million company, because these guys have me on speed dial, it's good for you too.
And you need a banker that knows you, knows everything about you. You can, like when I talk to my students and I say you need to talk to banks, I'm like, tell them everything about you. Like tell them where your credit is, tell them where your finances are. Like don't be like, oh, I'm gonna hold this back. No, tell them everything. Because as you build that relationship with that bank, the bank can then come to you and say, look, you're not quite bankable yet, but here's what I need you to go do, and then you can become bankable. And that's why we want to be transparent with the bank. Not just that, when the bank is starting to now do loans for you and they got to go pitch you to the board, they need to be able to speak with confidence like, hey, I know this person. I know she's done this. I know she can do this. I've seen this. I know where this is. Like they can speak on your behalf. And a lot of times we tend to have a misunderstanding with banking relationships. Banks are in the business to loan money. We're in the business to borrow money, right? And we need to understand it is a mutual relationship once we understand how each other play. How many of you were at the 3-day boot camp? All I was saying to you guys is what? Figure out how the banks play and play their game. Don't try to reinvent the game. Don't try to beat the game. Just figure out how they play and then play the game with them, right? That's what you have to understand when you're walking into a bank. A lot of you are going in and think you're begging for money. You're not. You're going in trying to build a relationship. You're trying to say, what do you need? What are you looking for? What do you got? What kind of programs are you offering? What are you not offering? All right, this is what you're looking for. Let me go see if I can find it and bring it to you now. I promise you, if you find what the bank needs and you bring it to them at what they want, you'll get your loans done easier. So
pulling back from rehab, is that because of the risk in rehab not being
let me repeat that. So he said that if they're pulling back from the rehabs, is that because of the risk of them not being completed or just risk in general of it getting sold, right?
Yes, it is the risk of it not being completed. So one of the things that Can I talk about the deal we just did?
Sure. Which one?
The chandelier deal.
Yeah.
So one of the things on his chandelier deal is he had rehab. And so when I presented it and we talked about it, he said, I got the rehab. We're just, he's going to cover it in cash. A lot of his rehab doesn't enhance the value. And
Thanks. Jack, your fence didn't enhance my value over there.
but it's stuff that has to be done.
I hear you, yeah.
So it doesn't increase the market value of it. So when I presented the deal, I didn't present it as a construction or rehab. I presented it as we're going to do an interest-only loan to allow the property to season so that he can get a break on making a P&I payment, a principal and interest payment. If you bring me a 1 to 4 family and you're paying $100 for it, but you got to put $150 in it, then I'm getting an as-completed appraisal, and I'm going to finance 80% of that. The bank's at a lot of risk at that point, because if you don't finish the rehab, I'll probably get 20 cents on the dollar when I foreclose and get rid of it. So that's what bankers are thinking. That's why.
How many of you heard 20 cents on the dollar? I mean, caught that? Okay. Yeah.
Let me ask you, just makes any difference in that scenario where y'all are
All right, so Jeff's asking about a scenario. I'm going to repeat it, so speak it up so we can all hear.
I'm actually a home builder, so I can pull my own permits and I do. There's some very, I have a rent company. We get stuff finished and we get it quick. Would that play any part when you go to your credit team and you're trying to get something like that?
So he's asking, because he's a contractor, are you saying that you're going to them to loan money for your deal that you're acting as your own GC on? Is that what you're asking? Okay. So he's saying, hey, as a GC, he's got a track record of completing jobs quickly. He's got an army of team out there, and he's got multiple jobs running. Does that play in his underwriting?
Well, it's also, I have a home builder.
He is a home builder
Right.
license. Yeah.
You're a home builder. We're going to look at you completely different. It's more difficult for you, yes.
Because you carry more risk.
Well, but these are rehab, they're not new homes.
Well, it depends on if you're doing specs, if you're buying lots for development,
He's saying he's going to buy
all these things.
a rehab. These are
So-
flips.
so-
Well, they don't use flips at a
Oh,
bank.
yeah.
Don't say flip at a bank. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't say flip
Don't do
because
that. That's a
because
no-no.
that brings a whole new thing. Most banks won't finance flips. Yeah.
What?
Basically, you're buying investment property, and your intent is to rehab it and hold on to it, and you can rent it for this. Now, if you flip it, then so be it.
Remember
But-
at the 3-day I said this?
But
How do we
as
have to
far
get this
as
deal
the bank
through?
is concerned, don't tell them you're flipping it.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking to me, you just disqualified it.
Yeah.
Gotcha, so I'm holding.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
but once you take title, what can you do? You can do anything you want with it. But if the banks aren't rehabbing loans out right now, I mean, we talked about this at the 3-day boot camp, guys. I said this one in South Huntsville, we had to restructure it knowing that we couldn't do a rehab loan with it. And so we went in and we have to say, hey, look, we need a construction to perm. Here's what I could rent it for once it's fixed. But once I own it, I can choose what? Well, I'm going to put a renter in or not. I can sell it if I want to because I own it now. As long as it doesn't have a hefty prepayment penalty, it could still work.
But also, when I'm looking at you and you tell me you're a home builder, contractor, and all this, and you're buying this, and then I'm going to look at your business, okay? We'll look at the rental property, but I'm going to look at your business too. With everybody else, I'm looking at you individually, but the rental property carries more weight than it will with you because you've got a business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And there's also a thing called global DCR too. Once you have a bunch of companies and they're all kind of running, so if your personal DCR debt cover ratio is too low, you can sometimes get the bank to take your whole global and pull all your businesses in, and then to get your DTI or debt cover ratio a little higher if you couldn't do it personally. So, yeah. All right, we're open up for some questions. Yes, Murray. Marjorie, go ahead. More or less foreclosures?
We have been lucky so far. We've had very few foreclosures. So in the last 12 months, we've probably had 6.
Why didn't I get a phone call?
I don't track foreclosures, man. Huh?
6.
6.
One every 2 months.
Now,
for them.
out of those 6, 4 of them were under construction.
Ooh.
So,
Last 12 months.
last 12 months, we've had 6.
One every 2 months. 4 of them were new construction or under construction. Yeah. Hey, listen,
Well,
you.
and that's
I'm
the
just
ones
letting
I,
you know.
that's the ones I know about. Now
I'll buy
we
'em
have
all.
our mortgage company. I can't
He
tell
ain't
you
here.
the.
He ain't
I don't know what those are. Huh?
Residential.
One of them was. They were consumer residential properties, but I don't remember the thing behind it.
Man,
The
let
4
me-
constructions I remember because we did constructions we did a design, construction, build for individuals. Builder was working on it. Builder wasn't part of the deal, and things got sideways in all 4 of them in terms of cost, things of that nature.
All right, let's open it up. Who else got? All right, what you got back here?
Question for Debbie, and it's something that I kind of want to confirm what we're seeing, and as you're, listing and buyer listing agents, we're seeing, flippers get beat up on inspection, and buyers asking for concessions, stuff that's like not even necessarily wrong, they just have more leverage, and so they're asking for
Yeah.
more. Is that what you're seeing? Because it's something we got to factor in when we're running data.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's as the market's shifting, the buyers have a lot more power. I mean, it used to be where they were waiving inspections. I mean, just crazy stuff, waiving, appraisals, waiving everything. But as they get more and more power, they're going to start asking for more and more stuff. And I mean, I listed a property for you. We saw it. They asked for almost everything on there that they possibly could, Yeah, they're absolutely. You got to, when you're budgeting for your flips or your rehabs, you want to have that budget set in there. I mean, that's absolutely got to be a line on your bottom dollar is not just, what your selling costs are going to be, not just your agent costs and all that stuff, is how much money do I need to factor in for these repairs? Because they're going to ask.
And let me say this. Hear this. Take this note. You need an agent on your team that will go to bat for you on those RFRs. Okay? I'm telling you right now, I've worked with agents. Requests for repairs come in, they send it to you, and they say, here's what you got to fix. And I'm going through and going, no, 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 no. Versus, like, when Deb will get it, she'll like, Zach, they don't know, you don't need a compression tank on this. It was built before this, and, like, you don't need this, and you don't have to fix this. But I'm going to tell you right now, you need to fix these 12.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. I mean, a lot of agents, agents in general sometimes don't exactly understand. They don't read what has to be fixed and what doesn't have to be fixed. I mean, they're going to ask for whatever they're going to ask for.
Of course.
But there are certain things in our rules of, what really needs to be fixed and what doesn't. But they're asking for a lot more, like you're saying.
I'm just prefacing on what she's saying because we're seeing it too, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, some of you that are getting started and you don't have help and you're running at this on your own, just know that everything they ask for isn't always a must, is what I'm saying. It's not. You got to fix safety stuff. You have to, right? But some of it is just, they're just throwing everything at you to get you to do it all. So that's all I'm saying. Next question. Yes, sir.
After the rehab, how does the bank look at a property that has been rehabbed?
Like
Appraisal?
any other property, once it's been rehabbed, we'll do up to 85%. And that's the thing that I want y'all to realize. When you're buying property as an investor, this is not secondary mortgages. So most banks are, by regulatory limits, we can lend up to 85% After that, it has to be voted on by board of directors to go beyond that 85%. So if you're truly investing and buying an investment property and it's 200,000, the bank can lend up to 85%. That's as high as they can go.
That's good, though. Yeah, that's real good. Yeah. I teach everybody to just always factor in 80.
Well, I have branch managers call me all the time. We got John Doe here, and he's wanting this, and I'm looking at, well, he wants 95% financing. Not gonna happen.
People
If
still
it was
ask
his-
for that?
Oh yeah, if it was his primary residence, then fine. But he's buying
Right, but an
investment.
investment property. Like, to me, that's so over leveraged already. Like, if you're having to finance the deal at 95% to just make it work, like, you shouldn't have bought it anyways. So, wow, that's crazy. Yes?
What are the Feds going to do with interest rates?
I was waiting on that question to come through. We got it last year, too.
Okay, I went to an economic meeting about 2-3 weeks ago. They gave an economic report, one of what they expect to happen if Biden wins, and one of what they expect to happen if Trump wins. The sad part is neither one was good. So, the Fed, they were, at the beginning of this year, they were projecting that there were going to be a number of rate cuts. Inflation has not gotten as under control as they thought they had it. And so now they're predicting maybe 2, tops 3 rate cuts, but it would be in the fall. Powell still thinks that a healthy prime rate is anywhere from 6.5 to 7. We're sitting at 8.5% right now. He thinks a healthy mortgage rate is in the 5s. So that's where your Fed chairman is. Now, the other side of that is everybody's talking about deflation. Prices have to come down on certain products. And deflation means that the value of your asset is going to drop, but your purchasing power increases. So that's what that means.
So I want to point out a trend that I'm seeing that goes along with the banking, and it's kind of a question for you as well. A lot of people are looking to buy down their rates, and so you're seeing a lot more concessions where people are buying down rates. It's something that you might want to look at with marketing your property, especially when you're looking at VA, FHA, where people don't have as much funding and stuff, is marketing that you will buy down rates. Are you seeing a lot of people buy down rates?
The builders that are doing well, that are continuing to move product, are buying down rates.
They're blowing the banks away on interest rates right now.
Right.
Like, it's crazy what we're seeing them put out.
And they're buying down rates to get people to say, yes, you can afford this. We can get your rate. We can get you down a quarter point or half a point or whatever they need to buy them down. But they're buying down their rates, and you have to understand from a builder that's coming out of their profit because they're not increasing the price of the house to cover what they're buying down the rate. They're giving up profit to sell the unit.
Yeah, margins are low. Yeah, new construction.
That's
It's
I
not- you
don't
gotta go
see
to a
much of
bank.
that because that's going to be more your mortgage officers, and I just talk to the builders because we're financing their developmental loans.
But Russ, to your point, just to be clear, I even saw one the other day where it was a seller offering like concessions. And can I say that word, concession? That's how. Yeah, I think that's where I got it from. Concessions to the buyer for buying down rates and doing other things to try to help them, acting like a builder, right? So, but there again, it's because the price point of the property was. It was hurting them because of the interest rates that are on it. So, Stan?
At the first of this year, there was a lot of 2024 projections, I guess, that were pretty optimistic, and they were all based upon rates going down 3 or 4 times this year.
Yep.
So one thing we know is that ultimately we really don't know. It's about like the Lord coming back. You know it's imminent, but you really don't know. Isn't that the truth?
Right.
And so now, I think that, well, I happen to know, well, I'll tell this, I guess, but I had lunch with Tommy Tuberville last week. He knows I'm in real estate. He said, how's it going? And I said, well, we were counting on 2024 being a lot better. He says, you know those rates ain't going nowhere, don't you? He said, I talked to Jerome Powell about it. And he says, I'm not moving those rates until we get inflation under control. That's true story. I'm doing a little name dropping there. It's a darn true story. And so, but I would say this, that, you know, Jerome Powell himself was probably giving out all the indications in January 2024 that we would see 3 or 4 cuts. So we really don't know, do we?
Right.
So what do you do then? Well, you don't sit around and wait, as Zach would teach, for the atmosphere, for it to happen to you. You have to go up and make it happen for you, don't you,
That's right.
Zach?
That's right.
Because if I was waiting on, if we really had our business model and business plan counting on rates going down in 2024, we wouldn't really be in control of ourselves, would we?
No. I love it. No, it's good. All right, anybody else got some more questions? We'll get you guys out of here.
So I know we covered data overall for each county, but for question for Eddie, what clusters and price ranges are you seeing where we should be going forward and going away from?
So if you were to, and if you call me, and any agent can pull this, but if you look at certain price points, because we're talking about affordability is getting more challenging with interest rates, you're going to see that price point of 500 and above. That days on market's going to be a lot higher than that 47. Anything under 200,000 moves like hotcakes. I've listed a lot of people's houses here, and I don't think any of them have been on the market for more than a week because they're moving. You know, if you can renovate a house right now to where it qualifies for VA, FHA, FHA is big because interest rates are lower on FHA. But you got to have that house ready for an FHA and VA inspection. And that's a whole nother beast. But if you can have a house that will pass a VA, FHA inspection under 200 grand, it's going to sell if you list it with me.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, here's a rule of thumb for you. You ready? Find out what the average sales price is per market, per zip code, and try not to buy anything that has an ARV greater than that. Then you'll always move fast and you'll be below the medium days on market in that area. So if the average, say the average sales price is $350,000 for that zip code, then we won't buy anything that has a resale price of more than $350,000. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a saw they open an office on Jacob's Title.
Jacob's Title opened in Guntersville.
Right. Does that mean Marshall County? Do you see something on Marshall County? That's why you went there and offered like an office?
Oh, look at it. There's some movement out there.
We just have some strong relationships over there. I don't think that I haven't. I mean, I'm impressed with his research model right there. I didn't do something like that. We have strong relationships over there. But my hunch is, if he did, my anecdotal feelings about Marshall County are strong.
Yeah. I've only been saying that for how long now? Maybe like, shh, don't send them into our market. So, all right, guys, hopefully you got some value out of this evening. So, give you some insight. I just want to personally say thank you for Stan for coming up with Jacob's Title. Guys, they got a booth out here. Scott's out here. Just drop by, grab some. They always have free stuff for you guys. Talk to them real quick on the way out. See what they do. Get a card. Set a meeting with them. They also do LLCs. They do all kinds of stuff for you guys. So make sure you see them on the way out. And I always want to say thank you to Miss Debbie over here. She's a superstar in this space. And Tim, I know that your door's not always open to everybody that I send over there, but what branches could they go into if they wanted to sit down with Cadence?
Basically, any Cadence branch, go in, talk to the branch manager. You can get my card. If they don't know what needs to be done, tell them to call me. What I want it to be local for you. I want it to be easy access for you. I'm downtown. I'm not always the easiest to get a hold of. So I want it to be local and easy for you. So we've got a branch on Hughes Road. We've got one on Highway 72 in
Hey,
Madison.
and there's a great branch on 72 in Madison.
Yeah. And Katie Sloan's the branch manager there. We've got branches in New Hope, Hampton Cove. So we do not have any in Morgan County, and we don't have any in Athens yet, or Limestone County.
Hey, and that means they're still a small bank, right?
Right.
This is why they don't have seasoning.
And you can call me, and if you want to go talk to it, I can talk to you about what banks are going to be more likely to do what you're willing to do. Every bank has its niche. Okay. What y'all are talking about doing? PNC is not the bank. Regions is not the bank.
Right?
Wells Fargo is
Right.
not the bank. Okay.
Bank of America, right?
Bank of America.
Chase,
Chase.
right?
What you want to do? Bank Independent, Cadence, Renaissance, Merit Bank.
South
E-
Community,
So-
First Community in Coleman,
Right.
Merritt.
The smaller banks is going to be more interested in working with you. Okay.
Well, Tim, I appreciate you, man. Sorry if I bug you all the time. But, you know, I always learned if they
called-
don't answer once, you double dial them.
It's called he gives me grief all the time.
Listen, when Tim calls, I'm always like, hello? It's either good news or bad news, right? So, nah. Anyways, give Tim a round, give Stan a round. Deb, stay up here with me. You guys can step down.